Hi everyone, Max, team, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I have 14 years in sales and marketing behind me. Okay, good. I think I can figure out 2 buttons. And I hired countless of freelancers and contractors over my years, both as an entrepreneur and as employee. What many people of you probably know is that 1/3 of the US workforce today is what's called the contingent workforce. It's freelancer, contractors, and various sorts of temp workers. And a big chunk of this market is moving online. People are starting to hire and recruit more and more online. And we're building a premium marketplace for online work. 83% of the people we talk to when we poll them say that they still, despite all the options out there, have big troubles finding people online. It's very time consuming if you go to the big open marketplaces like Odesk or Craigslist. They can't find top talent because they're simply not there. It's a hassle assuring quality. It's just you get like 20 people with so much varying skill sets pitching you when you post a job. And the people we talk to in a bit larger corporations, they are still stuck in traditional staffing and they haven't moved online yet. A typical client for Coworks is a marketing department looking to hire someone for the web or marketing initiatives. This is a company was looking to build a dating app down in LA. They weren't considering even other options online. They were comparing us to traditional staffing alternatives. We gave them 5 available candidates in 24 hours, and they hired one of them within 48 hours. So compared to traditional staffing, we offer them cost savings in the range of 30 to 40%, still like a kick-ass talent. And the time to hire was just like immensely shorter than anything they can get from the traditional staffing agencies. And the project size, 4,000, which is fairly small compared to traditional staffing, but it's still in the range of 5 to 10 times bigger than what you see on the incumbent online marketplaces that do mainly outsourcing to low-cost countries. And here are the guys that turned out to be available, and these are very, very good people. For instance, the lead UX designer at Yahoo. In the end, they went with a guy called Asil, who's awesome. So our product is a global platform for online work. We do pretty much everything that the big guys are doing, and we offer a super easy process for hiring people online. We have all the tools you need. We're global, scalable, and compliant, so there's no need for a big company to go elsewhere. And we have chosen to be tailored for creative work. That's our bowling alley strategy. We start with the 30% that's considered belonging to the creative sector, meaning it's typically designer, UX people, product people, front-end web developer, copywriters, and online marketers. And our revenue model is very, very straightforward, 12%, and we have some other revenue streams as well, but let's not dwell too much on that right now. We have 2 very clear product differentiators. I'm sure a bunch of you are familiar with existing options out in the online staff market, like Odesk, Freelancer, etc. We do 2 things very differently. First, we're closed and curated, meaning that we're an invite-only marketplace to maintain and ensure quality. And that actually means that we managed to attract top talent, and we got so much awesome feedback from those people that they just been looking to see something like this out in the marketplace. They are not attracted by competing with doing a logotype for $50 somewhere when you have like your award-winning designer working for BBDO or have been doing global campaigns for Nike, etc. You simply can't find those people on the other platforms.
Mattias, you're out of time.
Am I out of time? Oh my God, that was quick.
So tell us how much money you're looking for. Tell us how we're going to make money.
The metrics, long story short, yes, it works. We have an attractive investment proposal. We're raising 1 million, common stock in US Inc. Half of which will be taken from our existing investors. And we already see a clear exit scenario from industrial buyers. I've been in dialogues with 4 of the big staffing companies, and they all say the same thing. We're going to acquire someone, we're not going to build ourselves. And that's where our comprehensive platform come in. And quite humbly, we think we can offer 15 to 25 times the money. So Max, what does it mean?
Okay.
So what's in it for you guys?
Why don't you leave that up there while we ask questions, okay? Eric, please.
So you got cut off in the most interesting part, which is you were describing how you're a closed and curated system, and when you're small, it's relatively easy to be closed and to curate and to get great results and to have good proof of concept, but it's very hard to scale when you're closed and curated. So what's the solution there? How do you scale and be a hand-curated system?
That was actually the second differentiator that I didn't get to. We use social referrals, so we gear like a social network where freelancers, clients invite their own favorites, and we're already doing this. Meaning that the way that people are more and more sourcing the talent is through the friends network. So for instance, if any of you here sign up and we're connected to LinkedIn, you get presented to the people I know and work with. And that's the way we're going to do it. And we also have in a month, we're launching a new feature where the freelancers themselves rate other freelancers. So now we're nailing it until we can scale it, but we have a pretty good understanding of how we're going to make this like scale actually.
Other questions? Noah, please.
What prevents a freelancer from forming a relationship with a client and then going around the system, to do the second project or the future project?
Repeat the question, please.
So what stops people from go off the platform and go directly to the client? Well, the short answer is obviously their love for the Swedish co-founder, me. But well, we don't believe in suing our clients if they move, but you can actually hire, recruit people and pay 5,000 for them. So far, it's kind of too early to tell. I know Odesk and Elance have, I shouldn't say problems with it, but just a matter of fact, that's the way it works. What we see is we can build a better loyalty with the freelancers since we actually offer them decent pay. And we prefer to work the freelancers and kindly ask them not to take the job offline. But in the end, I think, if you have a churn of 20% in the end, it's not much you can do about it. But I think by ensuring that they build a rep on the platform in terms of social recommendation, the way that LinkedIn, in theory the same question would go for LinkedIn, but people are not leaving LinkedIn. So we're hoping to replicate those mechanisms by having, again, the second differentiator being social. That's the short answer.
Okay, Alan, you have a question?
Yeah, do you put a floor on the pricing per project?
Yes and no. If you already have an existing freelancer relationship, we don't put a floor on it. So typically I can buy stuff from my freelancers for 200 or 500 bucks. But if people actually post jobs at that range, we get back to them politely, say like, I'm sorry, we can't offer you any talent at this rate. So yeah.
So you do have a floor?
We have a floor. Around 500 bucks, but typically it has to be, if someone wants a blog post for 500 bucks, then it's well paid. So we put it in relationship to what they're actually asking for.
So we're going to switch to feedback. You can put the mic down, please, and we'll start with Eric, then Alan, Noah, and Paul.
So I think this is interesting, although there are no shortage of attempts to try to solve for this. And so the challenge, of course, is really finding a way to be better and really cut into the market share of all of the other players that are entrenched, while you're also going to jump ahead of all the other players that are trying to cut into their share, right? So, Odesk and Elance and Craigslist, serves the small end of the market, and there are, big players that serve the big end, and then there's the real algorithm right here, right? So you have to, find the positioning, and it has to work. And I don't know, you said one thing, you didn't really talk much about it, but it's this idea of the freelancers who are ranking the other freelancers, which is different than just social referrals, right? A concentric circle of referral networks, but really this internal sort of algorithmic score that people can rely on because professionals are rating other professionals, that I think is interesting. And I've seen some attempts at that too, but nobody's really got it right, and it's certainly not out there in the market. So if you can do that and have a great go-to-market strategy and a good customer acquisition strategy, solve the problem that Noah raised about, you know, sort of taking business off the platform, it might be great.
Alan, please.
Yeah. I'm always confounded by these types of models, you know, like I've never met a mechanical Turk. Who are these people, you know? But I always regret not believing in these models. When I was running the fund, we had an opportunity to invest in a startup that just focused on logos, and they were raising $1 million. It was just a tiny little round, and then a year later they sold to HP for $75 million, and I was like, damn it, just because I don't believe that anybody who does this kind of work, right? And it's, you know, it just feels too cheap. And then, so I've always wondered if something like Coworks would work. You know, it's like, and a lot of people try, and it's just, you know, you've got to convince me that, you know, it's obvious that there are enough people out there who want quality work done, and you know, every time I put a project on Elance, it's just the most ridiculously dumb experience. You know, it's just frustrating.
Thank you.
So I've done that, right? I've been on that side, and I know that I would have a demand for this, but you've got to convince me that you can find enough great talent. I just don't. I'm not sure that there's enough out there, and I don't know. I can see this wave. You know, you're a brand new top talent out of art school, and you're willing to do a few of these projects on Coworks, and then you've built your own personal brand, and you're gone. But every year you might have a new wave. I'm willing to believe that. I don't know. I've got to be able to quantify how big the other side is. I know the demand side is huge. I'm not so sure your supply side is big enough.
Oh boy, we're going to have a good talk.
Sure. Okay. Noah, please.
Okay, yeah, really, you're a marketplace, and the challenge for you is to build a strong value proposition, right, to both, you know, sets of stakeholders. For the customers, ultimately, it's the quality of the workforce, and I think that using social, starting with a talented, you know, beginning is a good start, but you're going to need a lot more than that to ensure quality and to really live up to that promise of having the best. And you're going to have to think about, you know, there are going to be some that don't live up to the expectation. How do you deal with that? That's going to be a continual challenge. On the talent side, for freelancers and any free agent type employee, where their next project comes from is always a source of enormous anxiety. And if you can solve that problem for them, you can really be their hero, and you can build a great deal of loyalty with them. But I would think about building in elements of a platform that wed them to your service. Make it a place where they can organize all their work, they can organize their client relationships, and I don't know if you're thinking about some of this stuff already. You can just nod, but you must be. Lowering your fee for the second project might be another way to make it really easy to stay on board. We're investors in a company called Boost CTR that creates a community of advertising creative writers, and that's essentially what they do. They make it a very easy way for those people to earn extra income, and they do a lot really focusing on the community aspect and the experience of doing the work. And that leads to a great deal of loyalty, and ultimately that's their competitive advantage. That's what's going to prevent someone else from building a similar system and actually delivering the same product to advertisers.
Paul, thanks.
You're a charismatic guy. You're obviously excited about the opportunity. A little bit of humility would go a long way. Right? You project having a tiger by the tail, and you got to be careful with that because I don't know that you do. Specifically, you are wise enough to say what the problem is up front, which is whatever the stat was, 80 to 90% of the hiring managers don't believe they can get trustworthy help. And then you actually did not address that at all with any kind of credibility over the entire 4 minutes. This looked to me like it was an 8-minute presentation. You missed by a mile. And that shows maybe a little bit of a disregard for the project and the timing and the assignment and the importance of you addressing the problem that you identified. I've heard you say this before, the social network thing, LinkedIn, the LinkedIn recommendation, the whole engine is the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. I'm endorsed for things I know nothing about by people who know nothing about what they're endorsing me for. Like my gardener endorsing me for startups doesn't know anything about what that means or what I've done or anything. So if in any way that's going to drive a recommendation, I'm going to get hired for coding, and I've never coded before. And this is not going to work. The eBay marketplace, which I'm very pleased to participate in now and then, you can see people who have done 20,000 transactions with 5 stars. And there, you know what you're getting. Here, whether a person did a good job is highly subjective, and it's going to start to look like Yelp restaurant reviews. One guy loved it, one guy got sick on the meatballs, and it's very difficult for you to solve the problem. Take this presentation, cut it in half, add a teaspoon of humility, and address that issue first. And if you can show that you have a proprietary answer to that, you might have something that's very, very interesting. Until you do, people will continue to say, I don't want to hire this way.